Sup ballers, welcome to another Out of the Park video that serves partially as proof of life. Yeah, I know I've been neglecting the YouTube channel lately. I've had a lot going on. But for those of you who have been wanting Out of the Park, you're gonna get two for the price of one this time. Which the original price was $0 because, I don't actually make money off this shit. To start off, here are the before and after personnel hires. I'd stop showing this if I could, but someone would complain if I did. For salary arbitrations, I offer the usual contracts near estimates with a few exceptions. Josh Hader gets a 3-year deal worth $24 million. He's probably nearing the end of his career, but is still performing relatively well, so I'll risk it. I decide on giving Jonathan Daza a 1-year extension worth $2 million. I have a feeling I'll probably cut him by the trade deadline, but he's cheap enough that it shouldn't matter if that becomes the case. I offer Liover Peguero a 6-year deal worth $106 million, but in a rare twist, he refuses my offer for a contract extension. Normally, if I can submit an offer to an existing player, they'll take it, but in this case, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Walker Buehler is tendered a qualifying offer, which he rejects. Julian Fernandez and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. are non-tendered and subsequently released. I tried extending Vlad, but he just wasn't having it. But on another note, it was at this point I realized one of my players' names was Max Lovin. What a lady killer. I make 2 trades, the first with the Indians who send Dylan Askew and a minor leaguer for Trevor Betancourt and Matt Cronin. This was to get some struggling players off my roster. The second trade is with the Padres sending Shane Panzini, Luis Andujar, Luke Jewett, Luis Nova, and a minor leaguer for Daniel Pacheco and Josh Swalls. Incidentally, I had traded for a Danny Pacheco in my Pokemon League series, which if you haven't seen, you need to go check it out. But as far as this particular Daniel Pacheco, he has above average ratings with great control and is quite inexpensive. I am quite hopeful he'll be of benefit. To prepare for the Rule 5 draft, I DFA Victor Francois and add Keegan Allen, Danny Valdez, Richard Pettis, Rock Riggio, Bob Cossey, Michael Gator, and Jose Figueroa to the 40-man roster. We reached the free agency period, and here's some of the available talent we have to choose from this time. I offer a couple of cheap contracts to temporarily fill some holes. The first to Averson Ortega, who gets $1 million over 1 year, and Chris Bryant, who gets $6 million over 1 year. But what I really need is a shortstop, so I go after Ronnie Mauricio and give him $113.3 million over 4 years. He's arguably a much better shortstop than Peguero was, and it's a shorter-term contract to boot, so I'm pretty happy. Simming through the offseason, we find out that Jose Devers has apparently gone Pedro Serrano on us and has been under the tutelage of a spiritual guru, and now he doesn't know if he even wants to play baseball.
You okay, Pedro?
Okay. Free and clear.
Did he say free and queer?
Clear. Free of anger and hostility that runs Serrano's life.
I'm not entirely sure why this would be an issue in the clubhouse, so I choose to ignore it. We sim through spring training and have some injuries, including Danny Valdez and Nelson Jacobo, who are out for 6 weeks. However, the most significant one comes from Garrett Cole, who has a setback in his already lengthy injury and will be out for 15 months. Okay. Since he's in the last year of his contract, I go ahead and release him. We reach opening day, and after the usual roster changes, here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I'm left with. As per the usual tradition, I play the opening day game, and here's the lineup that I've chosen. This game was quite interesting. On the offensive side, Andrew Vaughn got us on the board with this home run in the top of the 3rd, but the most impressive aspect of this game was that our starting pitcher went 10 innings, which allowed us to overtake the Mets 2-1 without overtaxing our pitching. So glad we did not lose to the Mets because, seriously, I hate the Mets. Shortly after, 2 of my players, Danny Valdez and Nelson Jacobo, were no longer injured, and I demote Valdez while sending Jacobo on a rehab assignment. Following that, Bill Cardenas is no longer injured and is also demoted to AAA. When Jacobo's rehab time is up, I demote Jose Cordero to make room on the roster. This is my new lineup. We make it to May doing rather well with an 18-11 record, a .621 win percentage, 2nd in the division. I'm a little worried about the pitching, but so far it hasn't been terrible. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I did something a bit unusual for me and actually extended someone during the season, and it was Nolan Arenado to a minuscule contract. Dude seriously needs to think about retiring. I'm really wanting to fill his roster spot with younger talent.
I just think it might be better for the team if
Hold on. Now, I've been around a long time. You don't have to give me the best thing for the team speech. I'll take it straight.
You're too old, you're too fat, and you're too slow. straight enough?
That'll do.
I demote Ryan Petties and recall Keegan Aiken to the Major League roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Amazingly enough, that was May. We make it to June with a 36-22 record, a .621 win percentage, first in the division. You might be thinking that I'd naturally be in first place, but you'll see why I'm surprised after I show you these pitching and batting stats because, you know, that's the game. Taking a look at the standings, every team in the NL West has a record over 500, and all the teams are within 4.5 games of each other. It's still early in the season, but this isn't necessarily a good sign if this continues. I make a trade with Minnesota, sending Jonathan Daza and Jose Figueroa for a minor leaguer. This is Alex Barnaby, who has amazing stamina. This guy has the potential to be a regular fixture in my rotation, but we'll see. To make this trade work, I call up Jeremy Earl and Jose Cordero. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. Draft time, and we have the 34th pick this time, and we might as well have not had any picks at all because there was no one good or even remotely interesting. I guess they can't all be winners. Gavin Lux is out for 4 weeks, and I call up Wilifre Peralta in his place. This is my new lineup. Chris Bryant is out for 2 weeks, and I call up Averson Arteaga in his place. This is my new lineup. And along the way, we have come across something I've very rarely seen. Robert Hassel III was the highest All-Star Game vote getter. I'm sure there was a more elegant way I could have phrased that, but that would have added another day making this video, and I don't think you really give a shit. Nelson Jacobo is out for 4 to 5 weeks. I've honestly had enough of his injuries. I call up Chase Davis at his place. This is my new lineup. Mid-season goals time, and the owner is happy. How nice for him. We make it to July, still doing rather well at the 49-34 record, a .590 win percentage, first in the division. We're still holding on to the top spot, but a losing streak could easily knock us down to 4th or even last place. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make a trade with the Blue Jays, sending Hee-an Il Choi, Averson Arteaga, and fabled minor leaguer Max Lovin for Freudis Nova and a minor leaguer. I'm honestly kind of sad to get rid of a player with such an awesome name. To make this trade work, I call up Josh Albers. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. Chris Bryant is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Shortly after, Gavin Lux is no longer injured and is also sent on a rehab assignment. When their rehab assignments are up, I demote Wilifre Peralta and Jose Cordero to make room on the roster. This is my new lineup. Daniel Bonilla is out for 5 to 6 months, basically the rest of the season. I call up Danny Valdez in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Nelson Jacobo is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Last trade of the season is with the Jackalopes, who send Brendan McKay, retaining 30%, and 2 minor leaguers for Jose Devers, Josh Albers, and a minor leaguer. I'm not entirely sure why I did this other than to bolster the pitching. To make this trade work, I call up Nelson Jacobo from his rehab assignment. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. We reach August, still doing rather well at the 65-47 record, a .580 win percentage, tied for first in the division. We need to step it up the remaining 2 months before we slip out of the playoff race. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make no roster moves at this time. Taking a look at one of my more notable players, Robert Hassel III, he's been hammering the ball this season, accruing an average of .327, 36 home runs, 22 stolen bases, 1.093 OPS, and has been worth 6.3 wins above replacement. I've been quite happy with my acquisition and hope he continues performing at a high level for years to come. As per the usual tradition, I play the game after the trade deadline, and this is the lineup that I went with. Normally I'd show you some offense, but this time I'm going to show you an ejection. I think Out of the Park could do a better job with this, among other things, since you get no animation most of the time, but they still have a sex offender in the game, so what do I really expect? We do end up beating Miami 10-5, and as you might have guessed, Freudis Nova is suspended.
Oh, there's a fucking surprise.
Nelson Jacobo is out for 2 weeks, again with him and the fucking injuries. I call up Jose Cordero in his place. This is my new lineup. Brendan McKay is out for 4 to 5 months, which is terrific because I just traded for the guy. I mean, what more could I ask for here? I call up Ryan Petties in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Emerson Hancock is out for 5 months. How many fucking pitchers am I going to lose? I call up Ryan Bruno in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Nelson Jacobo is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Again, Danny Valdez is out for 8 weeks and I call up Brad Gundrum in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. We reached September having improved despite losing half my starters to an 86-58 record, a .610 win percentage, first in the division. At this point, even if we make the playoffs, I'm not confident that we will make it that far due to the injuries. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. For roster expansion, I call up Nelson Jacobo and Bill Cardenas. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. And, of course, Bill Cardenas is out for 3 to 4 weeks. I don't bother to replace him. These are my new pitching assignments. And as we arrive at the end of the season, we find out that Robert Hassel III became a 40-40 player during the season.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
We make it to the end of the season and really went out with a bang, finishing with a 102-60 record, a .630 win percentage, first in the division. Again, I'm not confident of our chances in the playoffs, but at least we get to take part. These are my pitching stats to end the season, as well as my batting stats. Some players are missing because, once again, Out of the Park set up my playoff roster without my authorization. Taking a look at one of my favorite players this season, Tyler Glasnow did really well despite playing in Colorado, ending the season with a .399 ERA, 12.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 267 strikeouts, 33 starts, and was worth 6.2 wins above replacement. Way to step up to the plate, or on the mound, whatever, let's just move on. We must set our playoff roster, and here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I went with. And as predicted, we didn't last long in the playoffs as we lose to the Diamondbacks in 5 games, who would then go on to win the World Series in 7 games. To end the season, I execute the remainder of Andrew Vaughn's contract as well as Forrest Whitley's. Gavin Lux voids the remainder of his contract, and the owner has mixed feelings about my performance. Like I really care. This would normally be the end of the episode, but this is not a normal episode. We're moving on to the next season. For the 2029 season, here are the before and after personnel hires. I fired the scout since our draft picks have not been developing as he predicted. For salary arbitrations, I give contracts near the estimates with a couple of exceptions. Robert Hassel III gets $100 million over 7 years. Given his value, I think that's a hell of a deal. Gavin Lux agrees to a 6-year deal worth $216 million. I'm a bit skeptical whether I should have made this offer, but I guess we'll find out. I offer William Contreras a qualifying offer, which he rejects, and Chris Bryant is non-tendered and subsequently released. To prepare for the Rule 5 draft, I DFA'd Josh Swalls, Wilifre Peralta, and Kelvin Bender, as well as add Mason Barnett, Ian Ritchie, Josh Sprayberry, and Napoleon Armelini to the 40-man roster. I make 2 trades, the first with the Athletics sending Freudis Nova and a minor leaguer for Sean Murphy, retaining 25% and a minor leaguer. The next trade is with the White Sox, who send 2 minor leaguers for Nelson Jacobo and Daniel Pacheco. You might be thinking I'm nuts for making this trade, but in addition to being tired of Jacobo's injuries, one of the minor leaguers I received, David Naranjo, actually has some pretty good potential. He's the 11th highest ranked prospect and has the potential to be a middle rotation guy if not an ace. I'm willing to give him a shot. As we progress through the offseason, Forrest Whitley managed to get stung by bees.
Unbelievable. Or unbelievable.
We reached the free agency period, and here's some of the available talent we had to choose from this time. I signed Marco Luciano to a 4-year deal worth $48 million. I think this guy might end up being a trade chip later on, but for now he's fine. To fill the hole I now have at catcher, I signed Reese McGuire to a 2-year deal worth $2.5 million. It's a temporary measure, but his catching ability is pretty decent. We reached spring training, and the only injury is to Bill Cardenas, who is out for 6 weeks. Pretty much have come not to rely on him for anything. We make it to opening day, and after the usual demotions, here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I'm left with. Per the usual tradition, I play the opening day game, and here's the lineup that I went with. This game wasn't exactly a great one on our end. Marco Luciano hits this home run on the top of the 7th, but that's pretty much all the action on our end as we go down to the Reds, 8-4. Not a great start, and Andrew Vaughn is suspended.
Collect your belongings. You're suspended for 1 week.
Josh LaJoy is out for 5 weeks, and I call up Jeremy Earl at his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Bill Cardenas is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment, but that doesn't last long as Forrest Whitley is out for 13 to 14 months. These are my new pitching assignments. We reached May having struggled a bit and amassing a 16-15 record of .516 win percentage and are third in the division. At this point, I'm wondering how much longer we have in our contention window, but I'm not discounting this year quite yet. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make a trade with the Tigers, sending Reese McGuire and Dylan Askew for Jose Alberto Rivera and a minor leaguer, mostly an even trade of underperforming players. To make this trade work, I call up Ian Ritchie. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. And Napoleon Armelini is suspended.
That's just extraordinary.
Emerson Hancock is out for 6 weeks, and now I'm curious if any of my pitchers have any intention of playing this season. I call up Brad Gundrum in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Josh LaJoy is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Ronnie Mauricio is out for 4 weeks, and I call up Juan Alaniz in his place. This is my new lineup. We make it to June having greatly improved despite all the injuries to a 35-25 record, a .583 win percentage, and our second in the division. I'm honestly not sure what to think right now. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. Taking a look at one of our surprise stars this season, Rock Riggio has really impressed me so far with a .357 batting average, .412 OBP, 1.012 OPS, and has been worth 3.3 wins above replacement. That's pretty damn good given that this is only June, and I'll be anxious to see how he does for the remainder of the year. I DFA Ryan Bruno and call up Josh LaJoy to the Major League roster. These are my new pitching assignments. Draft time, and we have a 34th pick this time around, and again, nothing terribly interesting this time around either, and even if there were any interesting players, they'd probably end up sucking anyway. Emerson Hancock is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. Right after that, Ronnie Mauricio is also sent on a rehab assignment after recovering from injury. Bill Cardenas is out for 4 to 5 months. What a shock. But while dealing with that, I discovered that Emerson Hancock has managed to re-injure himself, this time for 11 to 12 months. I call up Ryan Petties in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. Mid-season goals time and the owner is worried about my job performance. Just go back to your sex dungeon or whatever it is that you do and let me do my job, okay? Brendan McKay is out for 3 to 4 weeks, definitely replacing my trainer after the season. I call up Brian Robinson in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. We reached July, somehow doing even better despite the injuries, and have accrued a 51-34 record, a .600 win percentage, and our first in the division. I don't know what to make of this. We've lost so many players due to injury and are still just rolling along. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make no roster moves at this time, mostly because I can't. Ronnie Mauricio is ready to come back from his rehab assignment, and I demote Juan Alaniz to make room on the roster. This is my new lineup. Daniel Bonilla is out for 6 weeks, and I call up Rob Parker in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. I make a trade with the Padres, sending Dalton Rushing and a minor leaguer for Mackenzie Gore. I think this will be a good pickup for us, and if we look at his stats, despite being a fly ball pitcher, he has pretty decent stuff. He's basically a rental, but I need to fill some holes in my rotation for now. To make this trade work, I DFA Jose Alberto Rivera. These are my new pitching assignments. Last trade of the season is with the Blue Jays, who send Ross Dunn, Jose Medina, and 3 minor leaguers for Jose Cordero, Ryan Petties, and Rock Riggio. You might be asking why I'd get rid of Riggio when he's having a breakout season, but if we take a look at one of the minor league players I got, Heiichi Hirabayashi, he has absolutely amazing stats except for power, and he is an excellent base runner and defender.
I'm willing to make this trade with the understanding that Rock Riggio has not done well for me in other plays of this game. Otherwise, this would be a horrible idea.
To make this trade work, I promote Chase Davis. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. We arrive at August having dropped a bit to a 66-47 record, a .584 win percentage, and are now third in the division. We are still doing rather well, but the fact that we've dropped 2 spots in the standings is a bit worrisome. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. I make no roster moves at this time. Per the usual tradition, I play the game after the trade deadline, and here's the lineup that I went with. And we lost to the D-bags 3-2. Not much to show really this time around. Running through the injuries, Brendan McKay is sent on a rehab assignment, but is called up after Ross Dunn injures himself for 2 weeks. These are the pitching assignments after that. Daniel Bonilla is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment, but is also called back up after Brian Robinson injures himself for 4 weeks. These are my pitching assignments after that. Ross Dunn is no longer injured and is sent on a rehab assignment. We reach September, slipping a bit more to an 82-60 record, a 577 win percentage, still third in the division. I'd honestly be happy with the wildcard seed at this point. These are my pitching stats, as well as my batting stats. For roster expansion, I call up Jose Medina and Josh Sprayberry. These are my new pitching assignments, as well as my lineup. Keegan Allen is out for 4 months. How nice for him. I call up Ross Dunn in his place. These are my new pitching assignments. And Ronnie Mauricio suspended.
You can show yourself out.
Well, all right then.
We reached the end of the season with a 92-70 record, of 568 win percentage, third in the division, and have clinched the second wildcard seed. It was a real struggle staying competitive when almost all of our good players were perpetually hurt. These are my pitching stats to end the season, as well as my batting stats, and of course, Out of the Park fucked up my roster again because, why wouldn't they?
I'm gonna need you to fuck off, Out of the Park. I'm trying to make videos of your barely functional game, and you're not helping me out an inch. Could you please get your shit together and just make this game into a functional game? And while you're at it, can you take out the fucking pedophile?
Taking a look at the start of the season, Gavin Lux absolutely fisted the ball, ending the season with a .350 batting average, .419 OBP, 1.1 OPS, 50 home runs, and was worth 8.6 wins above replacement. Had it not been for him, we would have been more or less a 500 ball club. And if we take a look at the league leaders, Lux was at or near the top of many categories, possibly the best player of the year in all of baseball. We must set our playoff roster, and here are the pitching assignments and lineup that I went with. We will need to play the wildcard game, and here's the lineup that I went with for that. This game was pretty close overall. Julio Rodriguez hits this home run in the top of the third to get the offense in motion, and we end up beating the Dodgers 5-3. Really nice feeling to finally beat the Dodgers in the playoffs. However, our good fortune ends pretty quickly as we are swept by the D-bags in the NLDS. As far as who won the World Series, the Rangers go on to win in 7. Whoopity fucking do. In the season, Tyler Glasnow executes the remainder of his contract, Josh Hader voids his, I execute the remainder of Julio Rodriguez's contract, the owner is satisfied with my performance, and my contract is extended. However, the most important thing about the end of this season was the retirement of Nolan Arenado. About goddamn time, and as soon as I figure out how to do so, I'll retire his number.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Hopefully this was well worth the wait. It probably wasn't. But if you did enjoy it, be sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. Because I have a feeling you're an actual decent person and you would like me to get some recognition at some point in my life. Are we done here? Okay.